Alright guys, Sedgwick here again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Tuesday. Today a lot of stuff to discuss. I mainly wanted to focus around that a lot of the professional players right now are getting increasingly frustrated with the state of the game and increasingly frustrated with Infinity Ward and Activision Blizzard's decisions regarding the CDL on multiple fronts. I've got an event to talk about which is going on today, I think, just a few hours after this video is going live, but also the state of the game more generally, some issues with the game, and now a lot of pros are stating their increased frustrations. I will say this up front, the reason why I'm discussing this topic now, as opposed to say in a month's time when that topic is still going to be on the horizon, the closer we get to the start of the CDL, the less and less likely that pros are going to be able to get away with saying things like this. When the league begins, I believe in Overwatch, it was definitely cited by a lot of people that when the league starts, you can't talk about complaints and stuff with the game, at least on the front end on Twitter. You can talk about it, I guess, back end with the developers, but you don't as a representative of the CDL, as you will be playing in the CDL for Activision Blizzard. You're, instead of just being a representative for yourself and for your organization, in this case you're actually a representative for the league, and a representative of the league that is strictly enforced, to the sense that you cannot just go on Twitter and say whatever you want and expect to be risk-free in that sense. Definitely fines will be dished out this season for people saying stuff on Twitter that they shouldn't be saying, which is going to be disappointing in terms of drama and that to talk about, but of course that's a story for another day. But I'm discussing this now because, as I'm saying, in 2 months time there probably will be still issues with the game. You won't be seeing it said on Twitter in quite the same light. So let's go into it. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Smashing that like button, baby. So yeah, Call of Duty tweets out 4 teams, 20 streamers, $250,000 prize pool, the Modern Warfare Streamer Invitational. Now, first of all, some of the pros were complaining about the individuals that have been invited to this. I do want to say first up that, of course, this is about promoting Call of Duty to streamers that don't stream COD, so that they can promote it to their community, right? That makes sense, but of course there's some individuals that you would expect to be invited from the Call of Duty scene that necessarily aren't, especially given the way the league has gone and the importance of the CDL. You would expect an opportunity like this to be a great opportunity to actually promote the game, promote the CDL, I mean, in addition to the game. But, as Matthew Piper Formal says here, they didn't even invite Scump and Formal, TGP, to the tourney because they knew it would rock everyone's world. And just to move onwards, so Ake says hashtag COD partner because Vivid, a Fortnite player, was invited to this. Look, I understand it, so I'll be teaming with Hutch, Ava, Tyler Teep. Okay, so there's definitely some COD-related individuals here. But at the same time, guys that, Vivid's going to play the game, he's going to take the paycheck, then he's never going to play Modern Warfare again, right? But it is promoting this game to a different community, which of course is what Activision Blizzard wants to do. It just feels a little bit questionable that, as Mork says, disrespect to their loyal players. I understand not having too many Call of Duty streamers that are going to appeal to a mostly Call of Duty fan base. At the same time, I think it would be nice to use this as an opportunity to actually improve the CDL, and as Slasher says here, hey guys, at least we've got a bunch of great patches helping the league we've got coming up. Obviously being pretty sarcastic. Joe DeLuca then says 250k 4-team event, holy smokes, congrats to everyone paying in that. Nelson, we talked about one of his comments a couple of days ago. Meanwhile, the Path to Pro players who actually play the game are tossed weekly Golden Corral meal deal coupons. I don't know if you guys are from the UK, maybe you haven't been to a Golden Corral. I've been to one a couple of times as I've been in the States. I'm sure most of you guys being from the States anyway know exactly what Nelson is referring to here. And yeah, thanks to Charlie for pointing this one out to me. So a couple of comments here from the Reddit before we move on from this topic, and so Ty RS talks about the Call of Duty Call of the Community event that happened back in Black Ops 1. I think I've heard about this. I never watched it at the time because I never watched competitive back at that time. But as was talked about here, imagine if you had all 12 CDL teams entered. Each team has like 2 or 3 of the biggest pro players, but then you have some, big YouTubers, big streamers. You can have the Call of Duty side and you can promote the actual teams by having them on a team, but you can also, and maybe you can't call the teams what they're actually going to be called, maybe because, some of the streamers might be contracted to different organizations, so therefore they can't play for another organization under their contract. Possibly some issues like that could arise, but definitely some prospects here, right? For example, having pro players, then fill the rest of the team with streamers, content creators, draw eyes to the CDL, spend a lot of money on it. As Obsessive Tendency says, says, this makes way too much sense. Not saying that's easy to pull off, but definitely part of it could be a good idea. And as Karma says here, I don't care about any of it. I think it'll be funny to see all these people play and what a shambles state the game is in. Maybe it will finally open some eyes. And, talk about being disrespectful to pros and streamers. It's incredibly dumb with the CDL existing. Would be a great opportunity to promote the game. As I'm saying, it makes perfect sense in my opinion that you would go for streamers that don't typically stream Call of Duty. You want to expose the game to a new fan base rather than, if you're watching Call of Duty streams, you probably at least have the game or are highly considering getting it already. Makes sense the direction they're taking there. I just think that the likes of Scump and Formal surely are no-brainers, at least to give some sort of, some promotion to the actual CDL league rather than just the game, especially because, we would hope that the CDL franchise league would actually get a lot of traction from Activision, whereas it seems mostly their focus is on pushing the state of the game, which I guess is perfectly fine, but it is what it is. So anyway, Chicago Huntsmen meet the coach at Sender. Why is this not playing? Here we go. Okay, that's more like it. So a couple of clips here. We talked the other day about Tupac Thuglord joining this team as their analyst. The coach is going to be Sender, the coach for Enigma 6 for a fair while. He's played with a lot of different individuals over the years. Never considered one of the best players. Has had good results at times. Of course, played for a very long time as well. Was, I guess, considered a pretty damn good coach. Let's not forget that Enigma 6 team at the latter half of last season, fantastic squad. They came top 4 at champs under Sender's guys. He played back in the day with Killer and the likes on Dream Team, I think, way back in the day. Not sure there's a highlight of that here, but it's him destroying people from way back in Advanced Warfare. Nice to have a little montage, even, of course, this isn't really relevant in the context of, him being a coach now, of course. But some highlights from his career is a nice way to look back on his career, and of course now he's completely moved away from playing, moved completely into the full-time coaching role for this team. Will this be a good choice? Interesting. As I said, Chicago got, I don't know if I said OpTic a second ago, because OpTic and Chicago still confuses me because the players on the team, but anyway, they got Tupac Thuglord in as their coach very recently. They've now got, as their analyst, they've now got Sender in as their coach. Interesting pickups in a way, right? I think a good pickup. Of course, Chicago is the team that if you have a choice, it's 100% the team you want to play for. It's the team with the biggest fan base, with the biggest names, the biggest potential to be a legend, right, in Call of Duty comes from the NRG, former OpTic Gaming, Greenwall, Chicago investment that Sender is clearly looking to go for here. Good decision, I think. I think he's been a pretty good coach over time. Of course, the crucial point is, where is TP, right? TP seeming to, especially given the two stories we've covered today, so Sender being the coach here, but TP competing in that stream tournament, seems like that's more of the direction he wants to go down than coaching a team full-time. He probably could have maybe got the option on Huntsman, who knows? Then again, we talked about, last season, how it was maybe Crim6, Karma and TP up against Scump Dashi Tej, so maybe Scump doesn't really feel like there's much to be derived from TP. A lot of complaints were coming the community's way to TP after the results last season, saying that the vetoes and the like weren't up to scratch. Maybe that's perfectly valid. Clearly they're not moving forward with him here for various reasons, but Sender's the guy, of course, they've gone in. What do you guys think in the comment section below on whether this is a good pickup for the team? He seems like he's had pretty good results on other teams, but nowhere near as high a profile, right? Chicago should be competing for best team in the game. Enigma 6 were never that kind of team. They were, a solid team for sure, but they were never going to be competing with the very best teams in the game to potentially win championships and win the league. Sender in that position now is an interesting one. He has a whole new realm of egos and people to deal with. The likes of Scump and Formal and Gunless especially are going to be difficult. I think the Envoy and Arcites will be no problem to get them to see your side of the picture. Maybe Formal as well to some degree, but I think that Scump and Gunless definitely not saying egos as in necessarily egotistical, but just these are absolute Call of Duty legends. You're a guy like Sender, who's kind of been, at least in his playing days, was not necessarily the laughing stock of the community, but wasn't exactly regarded as one of the strongest players in the scene. A lot of, you can imagine that people will look on Sender and say, what value is he going to bring here? Clearly the players have looked at him and thought that he could be valuable, clearly talked to him to some degree, and, to what effect is he going to have on this team? Very interesting to see going forwards. Of course, people talked about TV for a long time and what exactly he was bringing to the team, and maybe it wasn't so much. So we'll have to see if Chicago don't perform this season, whether they will start to veer some of the blame onto Sender, as was happening with TP last season, rather than onto the roster itself. Of course, an interesting topic of discussion when you are the most popular team in the game, because, that's always, people always come up with reasons if their team isn't doing as good as they expect it to. So yeah, let's move on to the final topic of discussion today. So that is the issues lows that the pros see with the games right now. So this is what Byron Nasty says, a pretty well-known player in the final season on Trainhard Esports right now. 12 Hz servers, terribly designed maps, new spawns every day in respawn, below 4s in S&D is unplayable, doors on every part of the map, no consistent meta, 2-bullet headshot multiplayer, welcome to Modern Warfare, happy grinding. And move onwards to what Scraps talks about yesterday, headshot multiplayer, not aiming in with the MP5, spawns, dead silence still isn't a perk, trophy system is still a specialist, apparently this trophy system doesn't even work quite a lot of the time, it's very inconsistent. Perks still don't work, thermals can't see through smokes, trophies still don't work, the maps, who made them, clearly people are getting very frustrated right now with the state of the game. And just to move onwards here, so Cap says, I was told squad spawns weren't a thing. Look at this piece of footage right here, so I'll just pause it real quick. Okay, maybe it won't let me pause for whatever reason. Look at this screenshot right here. So this guy killed Cap, or killed the individual in this clip, Julian, drops down to try and break the hardpoint. This individual jumps on from the barrier, and then these other two guys spawn right on top of this little hut. Look at them. I'll just replay the clip again so you guys can keep an eye out for it. But keep an eye on the top left of your screen right here, and you'll see two guys just pop into existence on the top of that roof right there. That's a spawn that should just never be happening, right? It's if we pause at the time that's in position, there's still a guy in the hill. His teammates are still pushing around. It shouldn't be that easy for these individuals to spawn this close to the hill and just run into it. They should definitely be spawning further away. The spawns in hardpoint clearly do not make much sense right now, and we saw yesterday, if you guys watched yesterday's video, with the spawn that Dave got inside that shipping crate, I guess, on Gunrunner, a spawn I'd never seen before, didn't even know was possible. So I don't really know how this is working, but it would be so nice to hear at least some feedback from the developers that the spawns are on the top of their radar and they're thinking about it going forwards. Of course, nothing of the sort, and I want to see exactly how this tournament we've talked about goes tonight and maybe into tomorrow, about how exactly this game plays, and as Karma says, it's in a shambolic state, as he puts it. Whether that will come across, we'll have to see. This is a comparison of tick rate as well. We did talk about tick rate before, but effectively this is the amount of times the client and the server will update themselves with the new information of the player location, which really increases Pika's advantage. It can really cause a lot of randomness with the game. 128 servers is the standard for a CSGO competitive match on a LAN environment. You can see the 128 compared to the 20 tick, and we're on 12, so we're like half of this again. Imagine this guy to this guy, for example, is the distance in between the individuals where you're actually going to get information on their location, which makes things pretty atrocious to try and actually have a good engagement with. Just before we finish, then, wanted to show you this clip really briefly. I think this should just about fit on your screen. It's kind of ugly, but you can get the picture here probably. So this guy's laying down and gets shot in the top of the head. I wanted to say that not every single issue that people have with the game is necessarily invalid, because if you're laying down in a position like this, obviously the way the game works is that there's part of your body that's visible above where you are. That makes sense in real life as well, right? I guess, to be realistic as possible. And as Crimsix says right here in the clip, if the prone cameras weren't broken and the POV player decided to snake the guy who killed him, he would have had literally zero chance of being able to react. This is a good thing, yet I'm not sure if a single person in this thread noticed it. So stay on the careful side of getting too hot-headed in discussions. But yeah, those are the discussion topics for today. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Leave all your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching as always. I will see you next time.